Hi, I'm Andy Griffiths, working with International Justice Mission as Regional President for Africa and Europe. International Justice Mission is the world's largest anti-slavery organization working to abolish slavery in countries across South Asia, Asia Pacific, Africa, and Europe. Slavery is a huge and barbaric issue today. How much of an issue is slavery today? Well, according to the Global Slavery Index, there are an estimated 40.3 million people in slavery today. That's more slaves than at any other point in history. Estimates are that $354 billion of products imported into G20 countries each year are at risk of having slavery in their supply chain. For the UK alone, it's around $18 billion every year. The most common products where slavery may well feature are laptops and phones, garments, seafood, cocoa and sugar. Slavery today is a colossal issue by scale, and it is a horrific issue on the scale of individual human misery. I worked with International Justice Mission in Chennai, India for 3 years in partnership with the government, rescuing women, children and men from slavery in brick kilns, rice mills, car part manufacturing plants, agriculture and garment factories. I have seen survivors on the day of their rescue at near starvation point, with scars from torture and bodies mutilated by the slave owners exploiting them. One man, Raman, today president of the Released Bonded Labourers Association in South India, was 38 when International Justice Mission worked with local government to release him. He was born in slavery, and his father was born in slavery, all due to a $15 debt borrowed in good faith by his grandfather. That's around 70 years of hard, unpaid labour taken by force to repay that original $15 debt. Slavery exists at scale today, and it's barbaric. We have a moral imperative to work together to stamp it out. This is the first reason why compliance with the Modern Slavery Act is more than just a tick box exercise. It actually matters. There are millions of people in slavery right now who need the support the business can offer through genuine efforts to keep their supply chain slavery-free. The second reason why the Modern Slavery Act is important is that consumers are increasingly demanding ethical options. From chocolate to clothing to diamonds to batteries to coffee, consumers are beginning to focus on what level of guarantee corporates can give that their products are ethically sound, including what efforts have been made to keep slavery out of supply chains. A bold transparency statement given with due rigour and in compliance with the Modern Slavery Act offers the chance to stand out from other suppliers, the chance to build your reputation as forward-thinking, a business that can be trusted. Another reason for compliance with the Act is that there is growing legislation across the world in this area, in Europe, US and Australia. Transparency requirements already exist. The trend now is towards introducing more stringent requirements such as human rights due diligence, and there are moves to strengthen punishment for non-compliance. Better to be proactive about compliance than taking a tick box approach which will begin to look outdated and may leave businesses exposed to reputational and eventually financial risks. At International Justice Mission, we believe that slavery can be ended in our lifetime. We have worked alongside large corporates such as Walmart, Google and Target. And what we have seen is that if you build coalition between local government and like-minded corporates, it is possible to strengthen justice systems to enforce the law and hold slave owners criminally accountable. Slavery will end when impunity for slavery ends. Businesses can and should do all they can to improve their own internal processes to minimize the risk of exploitation in their supply chains. Are we doing all that we can to protect the most vulnerable and at the same time to mitigate risk to our businesses?
Thank you, Andy. I wanted to turn now to the specific requirements of the Modern Slavery Act and the practical steps that companies can take to ensure effective compliance. The Modern Slavery Act of 2015, MSA, requires any organisation that does business in the UK and has a turnover in excess of 36 million to produce an annual modern slavery statement. The statement must be completed for each financial year, set out the steps that the organisation has taken during the financial year to ensure that slavery and human trafficking is not taking place in any of its supply chains and in any part of its own business. It must be approved and signed by an appropriate senior person in the organisation, and it must be published on the organisation's website if it has a website. Organisations must publish their statements as soon as reasonably practicable after the end of the financial year and at least within 6 months of the organisation's financial year end. Guidance on the content of the statement is available on the government website. Now, whilst the MSA was a big leap forward, it has been criticised for lacking teeth. Apart from naming and shaming, there has been little to force organisations to make sure their supply chains are slavery free. The government has now announced new plans to strengthen these requirements. It says it will introduce compulsory requirements as to the contents of modern slavery statements and require that the statements are published on a government-run register by one universal deadline. Fines for non-compliance also seem likely. The government register is actually already available and companies are strongly encouraged to add their statements to it, although it is voluntary at the moment. To comply with the law and, more importantly, to help end slavery, we recommend boards take the following steps. Communicate to staff the importance the company places on playing its part in helping to bring an end to slavery and human trafficking. Understand the risks of slavery in the organisation and supply chain and implement a plan that's monitored by KPIs to minimise these risks. Only 35% of companies have assessed their suppliers for slavery risks before entering into contracts with them. Encourage cooperation with other businesses in their sector in identifying and dealing with problems of slavery and trafficking. Ensure the business is transparent with stakeholders, customers and the public about what the risks are and how they are tackling those risks in a modern slavery statement. Be honest. Does your statement reflect what happens in practice? Could you do more? Ensure that staff feel accountable for identifying and reporting risks by providing easy ways for risks to be reported and by ensuring that staff are suitably trained and resourced. Appoint a champion to take the lead on driving awareness and change.